Well, thank you for joining our webinar today. This is going to be a webinar on some of the new features in RETAILvantage 2.0. I will start with introducing myself. I am Becky Kittinger, and I am in the Education Department. And then we also have Lee Rochelle, who is in the Customer Relations area.
Good day. Thank you so much for joining us.
So to get started here, we're just going to talk a little bit about what we've been up to since Excelos came on board. We have been really focused on our client success. With the Excelos platform and resources, we have definitely had some more upgrades in less time. We have had investment in software development. And we have new focus on client needs. So we now have what is called a client advisory board, and we also have a new project manager. So with the new client advisory board, we are really trying to focus more on what our clients want. It's a board of our clients, obviously, that have agreed to help us with what's really important to get put into the software.
This is big news for many of you who have been partners with us for a long, long time. You can appreciate some of the struggles we've had getting some of the great ideas that have come from the field back into the software. We've already had a lot of success with dialogue with our client advisory board, and certainly with Janice running the product development team. We are very excited about where we're going from here forward.
Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to what's new in RETAILvantage 2.0. So today we're really going to focus on really what we consider the top 5 features. We're going to go into a little bit of detail about those, but I want to let you know that we have added over 50 additional client requests. So it's not just the 5 we're going to talk about in detail, but there's actually over 50. So some of the things we're going to talk about is we are going to talk about the new e-receipts. We're going to talk about the timestamp feature. We're going to talk about the plain paper sale form.
Yay!
The e-commerce integration enhancements, and some of the new enhancements to the purchase advice report. So with that said, we're going to start with the e-receipts and talk a little bit about some more detail about those. So you can now do an e-receipt with the sales receipt or the cash receipts. On these e-receipts, you can display your banner, okay, up at the top with your logo. You can also have some website links for additional shopping opportunities. You may have, if you'd like, some links to some customer loyalty programs, a link to different sale promotions you might be having in the future. You can display your legal notifications, so your terms and conditions. And you can have multiple templates, which means if you have multiple stores, you can have a customized template for each store. And the ability to update the customer's email address before creating the e-receipt. So what will happen, what that means is if you say you want to email a receipt to a customer, when you go ahead and enter their email address, it's going to also update the email address in the customer file. So if you don't initially put that in there when you're adding a new customer, it'll go ahead and get that updated. So what I'm going to show you here on the next slide is I'm going to show you a sample of a sale e-receipt. So this is what it will look like. So the things I talked about in the previous slide, here is the banner with your logo. So obviously here we just have a sample of our logo. Website links for additional shopping. That would be these things right below here. Link to customer loyalty programs. So some of those can be displayed down here. And then displaying legal notifications, that can also be done in this e-receipt. And as I said, you can have multiple templates, one for each store if you have multiple stores. And then basically down here is what the actual e-receipt would basically look like.
This is huge because it gives the retailer an opportunity to send an e-receipt off to the customer, and certainly because they receive it as an email, all of this information that Becky's been explaining around Dear Mrs., Mr. and Mrs., and all the way down to the actual receipt is pretty much customizable. So you can have a link to your terms of the sale, delivery terms. You can have a link out to a special promotion that you've got coming up. You can have a link to a survey. There's no limit. You can create whatever links you want in there, and whenever, if you can remember, whenever you've gotten an email from Amazon or someplace else where you've got a receipt from them and there's information pertinent to that particular transaction, oftentimes we know from experience that or from the information we've received, that kind of opportunity for the client to just open it up, look at it, and say, oh, gee, customer service. I needed to call them about that other thing that was delivered last week. Or, gee, they've got a special going on patio furniture this week. Hadn't thought about that, but since it's on sale, maybe I'll take a look at what's going on over there. This is huge. This is a great opportunity to keep in contact with your client. And they've got the paperless receipt.
Yeah, exactly. Any more people don't want that hard copy of that receipt. So this is a really nice new feature in the software that you can choose to use if you wish.
Exactly.
All right. Next, I'm going to talk about the timestamp feature. So hopefully the majority of you watching this today know, or you're aware that we have the sales, what we call the sales changes file. And that is where you can go into the software and you can see changes that were made to a sale, whether somebody got rid of an item on a sale, changed a salesperson, changed the price of an item, lots of different things. So that's always been in the software. What we have added, though, is we have added a timestamp because a lot of clients have requested that. So what's going to happen is if you look at the screenshot here at the bottom, it looks, pretty similar, but we now have this new column here that says date/timestamp. So you're actually going to see the time that something was changed. So, you've always been able to see which user, what sale, and, the basic action, but this is a nice new feature here so you can, narrow it down to the exact time something happened.
And this is actually going to come in handy for a lot of folks that have video cameras in their cache area, and possibly they use a generic login. We've actually had the question come up in support. I've discovered that what's happening is salespeople are putting in a sale and then they're deleting the sale and the money's not making it to the bank. And but I don't have a way to figure out who did it because I don't know when exactly in the day it happened. I've got a video camera, but I don't know I don't know at what point in the day this took place. And so this kind of a thing can become a major security plus for you, as well as just simply, golly, who done it and why? I mean, a customer has a question and maybe that person has the answer.
Thanks, Lee. All right, so next we're going to move on to the next feature, and that is talking about the plain paper sale form. And I think this is going to be, I think this is going to be huge for a lot of clients. I've heard this quite often. It's been just a huge request. So, with that said, RETAILvantage 2.0 no longer requires the use of a pre-printed sale form. Of course, you still can have a pre-printed sale form. That's not a problem. It's not that we're taking that away, but now you don't have to order an actual pre-printed form if you would not like to. So the plain paper sale form has customizable terms and conditions, which is great. And that is per profit center. So if you have different terms and conditions for your different stores. And you can print these sales from sales entry. You can print them through the print pre-printed form menu. You can go into view sales entries, and you can also use this through view sales history. So if a customer loses their sale form and they want another copy, you can go into sales history and reprint that invoice, which you've always been able to do, but now, as I'm talking here, it can be done on plain paper.
Cool.
Yes, and then a user preference basically just determines if the sale should print to white paper or if you're using a pre-printed form. The plain paper sale form utilizes the same profit center and user settings as a pre-printed sale form. So what that means is, for instance, in the preferences, you can tell the system, if you sold a predefined package, do I want to print the package item and all the detail components with all their pricing, or what do I want to print? So that those options are for the pre-printed sale form and also work for the plain paper sale form. And then on the next slide here, this is what the plain paper sale form will look like. So you can see, but previously in other versions, when you printed something like this to white paper, you didn't have any of these headings up at the top. So I think this is going to be a huge thing for a lot of clients. I think it'll definitely save you some money.
And a lot of folks that want to send a PDF of a sales order to someone.
Mm-hmm,
now
exactly.
The information makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you'd always look down here, and a lot of times you wouldn't know, well, what are these totals, some of it's obvious, but some of it's like, well, my customer needs to know, so
Right.
So we've made this available.
Yay, yay.
And the next one is we're going to talk about the e-commerce integration. So we have the shopping cart feature. So the shopping cart integration with MicroD's ePreview can now import the pre-configured item customizations from the web shopping cart into RETAILvantage. So that's talking about the special order SKUs. MicroD's ePreview is a powerful visualization tool that enables customers to sales associates to drape a variety of fabrics on a product frame. And the shopping cart integration with FurnitureDealer.net now imports groups of items to be sold as a package.
Very nice. If you are studying the idea of integrating your store to the internet, please get a hold of us before you hook up with an internet provider that does e-commerce, because these two providers have a very close integration to our software. There are not a lot of maintenance issues that you have to deal with out on the web. They handle that very well. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. All right, and then just some more on the e-commerce integration. We have this item export feature, and this is basically in the item file. Okay, so in the item file under the web button, we have 4 new attributes at the item level, and they are now included in the item export to help with how items are displayed and searched on your website. So in the item file, you can mark that this item is a clearance item. You can mark that it's a special order. And you can mark featured on the web, or you can even tell it to hide on the web. So this is when it's exporting from the software over to your website. It used to be that when this export was done, after it was exported on your website, then you'd have to go through and, if you didn't want something on the web, you'd have to manually, go through and take all that stuff off. So now before the export is actually, done, you can tell the system what to do with different items and what kind of items they are.
Big time saver.
Yes. The next thing we're going to talk about, the last of the 5, is the purchase advice report. So, of course, purchase advice report's always been there. We have just enhanced it a bit, hopefully to make it a bit easier to use. So the purchase advice report has been modified to help facilitate running the report for different regions within a retail organization. Report selections have been modified to allow the selection of multiple vendors, categories, stores, and warehouses. So I'm going to show you a screenshot on the next slide of actually what the purchase advice screen looks like now. It used to be where you'd have to do ranges, basically. Now we have made them to where you can tell it, it'll list, for instance, all your vendors, and then you can pick and choose what vendors you want to include on the purchase advice. They don't have to be in a range anymore. You don't have to print them all separately. The option to include discontinued items was split into 2 items. That was a big request. You can tell it to include store discontinued items, and you can tell it to include manufacturer discontinued items. So previously, that was just one option. It was include discontinued items. You didn't get to tell it, store or manufacturer. And then the other feature enhancement we put in through the purchase advice report was, so previously when you told the system you wanted to generate purchase orders when running the purchase advice, it was not allowed if there were other purchase order transactions on file. So what we've done now is we've said, you know what, even if there's purchase order transactions on file, go ahead and allow the purchase advice report to generate purchase orders.
Nice.
So here's what the screen in RETAILvantage 2.0 looks like now. So instead of your start and your end for the store, warehouse, vendor, and category, we have the available and the include. And previously, I don't even believe category was in there. People used to trick the system by setting their categories up as buyers. So this right here is not just a new available and include, but it's actually a brand new little feature here.
And for a lot of folks that are a little larger and they're running regional distribution centers, this has been a very important request for them, so that now they can say, okay, I just want to do store 1, 7, and 8, and they're pulling out of distribution center 901. And so give me what I need to make a really good decision about buying, just to feed that DC and that zone, that area where I've got that region of stores. Because the information and what's selling in that region may be different than what's selling maybe closer to the metropolitan area. So this has been a request from our larger clients for a long, long time. But even folks that are not running regional distribution centers, the ability to pick and choose categories, this is huge. Categories and vendors, just kind of mix it up and decide what you want to show, and you can get all the information in one report. Very nice.
Thanks, Lee. So with that said, if you wish to see a full list and details on all the new features released with RETAILvantage 2.0, you can visit that website listed on the screen. And to discuss upgrading to RV 2.0, you can go ahead and, if you're talking to somebody in our support department, you can go ahead and ask them about it, or you can email psisupport@excelos.com. And as I said previously, it's just not these 5. It's, we've added over 50 features. So,
thank you.
And then before we end for today, I just want to mention that we are having a conference in September. It's Visions 2014, and it is scheduled for September 14th through the 19th. And it's here in Colorado in the Denver area at the Grand Hyatt. And so for more information on our upcoming conference, you can visit the website listed on the screen, and that will give you all the details. It's going to be a great conference. We have the first few days are all Excelos clients, so just not PROFITsystems clients, and then the last 3 days are actually going to be, everybody's going to break off into their own areas, and so the last 3 days are strictly going to be about Profit and about the software and things like that. So you should be able to learn lots of good information.
And for those of you wondering, who Excelos is and where their plans are to take PROFITsystems and what their background is and their big picture, this is a great opportunity. I know for years and years we held our user conference and folks would come in, and it was a great opportunity to meet the management team at PROFITsystems. We have a new management team. These are a great bunch of guys. I really think you would enjoy some FaceTime with them. They've got a sense of humor, they have a sense of mission, and they have a sense of purpose. This is a whole new ball game for us. And so getting an opportunity to meet these guys and getting in front of them, I think you're going to be thrilled to know that you're in good hands with the team that's they're in the IT business. Mm-hmm. This is their strength. This is what they do, and they do it really, really, really well. And they're impressed with what we've accomplished. They have no intentions of gutting PROFITsystems or making major changes to it, but rather enhancing the things that we're really good at. And we've seen that already. They've made a lot of changes.
Yeah, and it hasn't even been that long, and we've seen lots of good things. So
lots of good things. You bet.
All right. Well, I would like to thank you for attending today. If you have any questions, like I said, about the new version, go ahead and talk to support or email them at psisupport@excelos.com.
Thank you, Becky.